We were asking you earlier on, who would you like to be the next Prime Minister? And I did say, out of the choice of Keir Starmer or Rishi Sunak, most of you saying Rishi Sunak, but not with any sense of enthusiasm.
Excitement or enthusiasm, yes, that's safe to say, I think.
Yeah.
Lots of people also saying neither.
Yes, which doesn't bode well.
It doesn't bode well, considering that is pretty much the choice when it comes to who's going to be the next Prime Minister.
Yeah. No excitement there. And it's a good point, actually, to raise, because joining us now is the Shadow Secretary of State for Business and Trade, Jonathan Reynolds. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
Before we get on to the meat of matters this morning, you'll have seen that we have this poll saying Labour has an 11-point lead amongst GB News viewers and listeners, which is interesting. People this morning have no enthusiasm either way, really. And in terms of the general health of politics in the nation, that's not very good, is it?
Well, good morning. Let me say, first of all, the people you've pulled there, obviously, people of excellent judgment and a sound character there. But, I mean, look, where is politics right now? Well, when I go around the country, you know, we've got these elections on the 2nd of May. There is, first of all, a genuine desire for change, even amongst people who would describe themselves as very strong, historically conservative voters. And second of all, there is, yes, I think, a sense that we've been through a period where there's been a lot of drama. You know, you've had a lot of prime ministers in a short space of time. You've had a lot of elections in a short space of time, a lot of referendums in a short space of time. And actually, when I hear people talk about the choices that they believe are before them, yes, they want change, but they also want an end to this drama, and they want a government that's going to just knuckle down. Want to be as exciting as some of the political developments have been in the last few years, but they want to get on with the things that government should do. Sort out the NHS, get the transport system working better, build some homes for your children and yourself to live in. That is what Labour is offering. So, look, there's always going to be a degree of cynicism about the political system, but I do think when you go back to how are people feeling right now, the kind of change they want is what Labour's offering.
Well, I mean, I mean, honestly, no disrespect, because I mean, I know MPs actually do work very hard, and I know it's tough being in opposition. However, there is this general sense that people are going, yeah, all right, Labour, best of a bad bunch, which doesn't say much for Labour, does it? In all that, you sort of, well, people are sort of saying, well, you're not the Tories, therefore we might vote for you. But where's the enthusiasm? Why haven't you been able to generate this enthusiasm?
Well, plus, I wouldn't accept the premise of that, to be fair. But let's be honest. The last general election saw Labour get pretty much its worst result in history. And if you'd asked me, honestly, the day after that, I would have said it's going to take more than one general election for Labour to even be in the game. You know, we're so far behind. We've got things so wrong. To be in a position, I mean, the Hartlepool by-election, Labour lost in Hartlepool 3 years ago, just 3 years ago. And here we are now looking at polls where clearly a lot of people are putting their faith in Labour. They are looking at the options and saying, yes, we want to make that change to a change of government when the election is called. We're not complacent about that, but we've got to keep making the case. I think, honestly, the transformation in Labour has been remarkable. And I think a lot of the credit for that should go to Keir Starmer. A lot of people didn't think this was possible. So I can't underestimate the job that we have had to do. I can't stress enough the change that we've had to make to do that. It is, I think, different to what you saw in 1997, where you'd obviously had an election before that where Labour came very close. And there was a lot of can Labour actually just go that bit further and win it? We're trying to go from one of our worst results in history to what would be one of the best. And that's a big change. And I think alongside that, you saw some people vote Conservative for the first time ever in the last election. And to be frank, they haven't had what they thought they were being offered. And of course, when people have made that big jump and been let down, they're going to feel strongly about that. They're going to be cross and feel let down. And we've got to do more to win those people over. But let's not underestimate the progress that's been made so far.
Mr. Reynolds, you've been talking about what the Labour Party is going to offer the British public. What's going to be offered in terms of defence? Do we know any more about whether the Labour Party is going to match the government's pledge to increase defence spending to 2.5% of GDP by 2030? We hear that you would consider a review if and when you come into power. But Johnny Mercer, the Veterans Minister, has said this just shows that the Labour Party can't be trusted on defence, that they will allow a long-winded review to take place whilst the world becomes more dangerous around us?
I'm sorry, I've got to laugh at comments like that. Now, we've been clear we would like to have that commitment to 2.5%. That is our commitment. We actually made that before the government did. But when Conservative politicians are saying, will Labour match the Conservatives' plans, I'll say, well, show me the plans and I'll tell you if we match the detail of those plans. I mean, the scale of how significant, particularly the army, has been hollowed out since 2010. I mean, when I was elected as an MP, the regular army would have been well over 110,000 soldiers. I mean, today it's 75,000. Like every bit of the public services we depend upon, it's been heavily reduced in the last few years. And the idea, by the way, going to sack some civil servants and then produce the kind of turnaround that they're talking about. So we've always been clear, yes, we match that commitment. Yes, we want to see that ambition going into 2030 of 2.5% being spent of GDP being spent on defence. But don't ask us to match plans the government themselves haven't actually got. And of course, given we've had relatively recently, remember we were talking about a budget, the chance for the government to lay out those detailed plans. Since then, we've had a commitment to abolish national insurance, so there's 46 billion added to Conservative plans. Now we've got this commitment. I don't know how they've got to the figure of 75 billion pounds for that, by the way. But, you know, let's be frank, this is not serious stuff from the government. This is an election campaign without the election being called. So I would probably say to the government, call the election campaign, let's have the two manifestos, but don't possibly even dare suggest you've got a stronger record on defence when you've hollowed out the army as much as you've done over the last 14 years.
Who are we meant to believe when it comes to, I mean, the figures about how much money we've got in our pockets now? I mean, the Labour Party, the Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is saying, you know, despite the changes to the tax system, which is meant to put more money in our pocket, inflation means that we've got less. Inflation's coming under control now. I don't know what the exact figure is. You'll know, 3 point something or other percent. So it's coming down towards target. Is Rachel Reeves right to say, actually, we're still out of pocket, despite the fact that inflation is coming down?
Oh, yes. I mean, it's a straightforward yes to that one, because obviously, first of all, when inflation comes down, it's not a reduction in prices. Prices are still going up. They're just going up not as fast as they were, and inflation has been so high that any gains people have got in their pay packet, if they're getting it round about this time in the month, they will still be worse off. I mean, one of the most shocking things is that this has been the first parliament really in modern history where people will be less well off at the end of the parliament than they were at the beginning of it. And the kind of change, the big change that's required, of course, we all want to see inflation go back to 3.2%. It's come down to. What we need is that big step change in how the UK economy is performing. That's going to mean building some homes. That's a big part of Labour's plan. It's going to mean having a better relationship with some of our key trading markets, including the European Union, moving past Brexit, just getting sure that's the right trading deal, sorting out the apprenticeship levy. It's going to mean having some real ambition on net zero, on industrial policy, not seeing what we've got this week again in Port Talbot, thousands of job losses with significant government money going in for not much coming out of it. You need this big step change. And for the government to say, well, we've turned a corner, we've got there. Look, I judge how inflation's doing. I'm at home today. I'm talking to you from my home in Stalybridge. I go to Stalybridge Tesco and I see the price of ketchup, of cereal. I mean, this is what really matters to people. And it is gone up to a degree that no one's going to be feeling, you know, the good times are back when they get their pay packet this week with a few pence off national insurance.
Mr. Reynolds, whilst we've got you mentioned shops there, and it does lead me on nicely to this story. It's on the front page of the Daily Mail this morning, actually. It's about shoplifting in this country. It appears to be an epidemic. New figures out this morning show that shoplifting is occurring once a minute in this country at the moment. 430,000 incidents a day. How would the Labour Party fix this?
Well, it's an outrage. I mean, let me say very clearly as well, this is organised crime. You know, this is not people in hard times shoplifting. In the main, this is organised crime. We've done a lot of work with the USDOR trade union and with big retailers like the Cooperative Group around the kind of technology and support for shop workers. But fundamentally, our plan is to implement the police efficiency plan that's on the table, put more police into the police force and use those to tackle. You know, sometimes people think this isn't the most serious type of crime, but it is, because it's serious organised crime. It blights urban areas. It means you can't have the kind of regeneration, the kind of retail and town centre and high street spaces that are vibrant and we all want to see. So fundamentally for us, it's about more police, but there's work that can be done working with retailers and unions as well to do that. Something called the Freedom from Fear campaign covers violence against shop workers as well. But this is a really, really serious issue.